Welcome to the Force Pro Sports ZAP Report. I'm Mr. Mischief. We're going to look over the final day of round play and the start of eliminations for Laserforce Internationals 2025. Here we go. I'm going to share my window with you here. We're going to look over some pretty neat stuff. Pretty neat. Alrighty. The day recap, or really the tournament recap. So round play is over. And we have our final team standings. So we will hop over there real quick. Final round play rankings. Brisbane with 84 points. Undefeated. The only game that wasn't an elimination was one against BDRL, their home site B team. The BDRL, 70 points. A dominant second place performance, losing only 2 matches to Brisbane and losing 1 game by a penalty to US East. 1.47 score ratio. Down in third, International Men of Mystery lead the out-of-town teams with 58 points, 10 matches won, 3 eliminations. All-American Supercharged, 50 points, 4th place, 8 matches to 6. Auckland A in 5th place with 34 points. 11 games won, 17 lost. Laserforce Crew in 6th place, 26 points, 9 games won, 19 games lost. Loveland Curveballs with 14 points down in 7th with 5 games won and 23 games lost. The only game that they won besides their games against Olympus were against the US East. And Olympus, unfortunately, getting 0 pointed this tournament, but I will say their score ratio has hopped up significantly since day one. I believe yesterday it was at a 0.3. Now it's at a 0.43. So big improvement from them. Reviewing the top in each position, we will run down the list here. We are not going to show finals, partially because there's no stats uploaded. But to conclude our tournament, we have Taipan with a 30.19 average MVP for the tournament. This is by far the most dominant tournament performance in terms of MVP in the LF Stats era, beating the previous record by over 5 points, I'm pretty sure. Rusty sets that second place record with 28.25 on the tournament, followed by a pack of other Brisbane players. We got Sharpshooter, Glader, Basil, Screever from the BDRL up at 22 points. JFK with 19. Simply OK coming in at 8th. Donta at 9th. Rook at 10th. And let's just hit that next set. Brew at 11th. Spear Turkey 12th. Fireball DK, Prawn Boy, Old Man Thanatos, Twin, Archdruid, Cody, Beans, and Scythe. Checking out the top in each position, we will set the minimum at 12 games because I just decided that's the marker. Basil was the MVP commander with 15 games played, followed by Simply OK, Twin, Beans, then Morange. We look at heavy weapons, we got Glader, Screever, Brew, and the Fear Turkey. Scout, Basil, JFK, Sharpshooter, Cody, Beans, Prawn Boy, Rook, Scrap, Sergeant Tucker, and Essence. In Ammo Carrier, we got Rusty, Fireball DK, Archdruid, Lone Soul, and Adipatosaurus. And finally, on Medic, we have Taipan, Sharpshooter, Donta, Old Man Thanatos, and Lucy Dune. Simply OK wins Medic Killer for the tournament. Most medic hits with 128 medic hits, and the highest average medic hits as well. So it was not simply a positional thing. Followed by Basil with 113, Screever 101, Rusty at 97. Again, considering he played mostly ammo this tournament, pretty cool. Twin 89, Rook 86, Taipan 81. He played mostly medic this tournament. Prawn Boy 80, Sabo 79, and Brew 78. That rounds out our top in each position. Let's get into our game highlight for the day, which I got to be present for on stream. Greatly honored to be part of Laserforce International's stream as a commentator. We're going to go to the first losers bracket game that was played yesterday. Unfortunately, sending one of these two teams home. The stakes were high. Someone was going to come in tomorrow with no games to play anymore. And this is the first game with Olympus versus Team Auckland. And I'm sure Team Auckland is not it's not happy that I'm giving this a highlight. But if anything, take it as good feedback and something to review. There were two incredible points in this game. And the story it's incredible. Olympus got 0 pointed in this tournament. But you saw them getting better and better and better. This was a team that I highlighted yesterday. So you can't just like treat them as, oh, they're bad, they're not going to win anymore. And I think really here in finals, they were able to prove that they were in that tier. And had they been given maybe 1 or 2 more days, the story of this game would have been different. Because these guys came such a long way. So Olympus comes in swinging. The score is about even. We are about 3 minutes into the game, and we're going to watch something incredible for both sides and tragic for Olympus. So Essence is stuck down on 2 lives. He has a .29 hit diff. 1 life now. Dart tags out Essence. Essence is in critical condition. At the exact same time, you see Gaza is pushing up. No, there's Dart. Sorry, it wasn't Gaza. You see right there, I'm just going to go back. I didn't mean that. I couldn't tell who that was. I think that's Lone Soul. Lone Soul trying to defend Guy Next Door while Dart sits in the new tower. Guy Next Door trying to get the reset, gets 2 into Dart, doesn't get it off. So while Essence is down on 1 life, Dart flushes the enemy resupply. Leech tags down Dart here, which was a critical save. But Essence still on 1. He is somewhere out in the field. Guy Next Door is, at this point, upset with his team, saying, you guys stayed out too long. And there we see Essence safely by the resupply. He's able to sneak in and make it. So, on one hand, this was a great sequence of play by Olympus. And had someone been able to tag Essence on his way up to the new tower, that could have been completely game-changing. In fact, I think it would have been game-changing. So, good on Olympus for putting them in that situation at all. This was looking very close to a very drastically different outcome for Auckland. But also, great play by Essence, where if you are stuck in that situation, sneaking all the way back on 1 life, even while your medic is getting flushed, having the intelligence not to pop out at a bad moment and recognize I can't just go running up there. So Essence was able to save himself by the skin of his teeth. Unfortunate for Olympus, very fortunate for Auckland. They shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. But you might think, wow, Olympus had a chance to win that game. I tell you folks, they had 2 chances. And commentating this game, I was getting the chills, the intensity from the arena, the intensity just sitting there in the commentary booth, which is just my room, or one of my rooms here in my place. There was another opportunity. We see later on, and I'm not going to show the play. I'm not going to go find that. But Olympus flushes Auckland, so they make a good push, and now Auckland is downstairs. Olympus is controlling the top floor. Morange is down to 3 lives. Dart has 19 special points. We see Essence pushing out Gaza. Essence takes out Dart. Morange kills out Cool Beans. Morange down to 3 lives. Morange is still at 3 lives. Dart is at 20 special points here. So Morange on 1 shot. Dart has had the nuke. We're going to say right here. When does he get it? Right at 9:49, Dart gets the nuke. So at this point, if Dart drops the nuke, Morange is out of the game early. Morange kills Cool Beans. Leech kills Wildcard. Essence tagging down Gaza. Morange puts a missile into Cool Beans. Morange gets his base. Morange thinking he might not survive right now. Morange out of shots. Morange puts a missile into Wildcard with no shots. So he potentially is going down swinging, and then Guy Next Door resupply Morange with lives as Dart drops his nuke. So all in that short window, right? It's right here at 950 is right when the nuke is when Dart could nuke. And I don't know where he was. He needed to get up. He just got tagged down. 10 seconds goes by. 15 seconds go by. 16 seconds later, Morange has the lives. Too late. That's why you drop as soon as you get them sometimes. As Odin said, like, if you don't know why you're holding onto your nuke, just drop as you get him because you never know what's going on the other side of the field. But for Olympus to be putting Auckland in this position twice in the same game is incredible. And you look right here, Know-It-All's down to 3 lives, Morange 4, guy next door 6 compared to Finn's 10. This was, it was there. It was there twice for Olympus. And Auckland, this speaks to Auckland's skill that they were able to come back and nobody died out early. But gotta highlight this game. I would have to say this has been one of the coolest games in the tournament from my perspective so far. Seeing the back and forth on this was just amazing. Gotta highlight this game. Okay, team highlight. We've got to highlight the BDRL. And I think the reason we got to highlight them, we've sung praises of different players throughout the week, but you know, you just got to think everyone except the community underestimated these players. Even Glader thought they'd come in third. But Kodama and I didn't think they'd even take a podium finish. And I think the reason for that is because you would think that a team of, I mean, essentially this is a team of rookies. Screever and Arstruid are not rookies, but the average number of missions that any of these players has played is 1,114. And that's about as many as the Loveland Curveballs. Average Brisbane missions, though, is about 1,000. If you're on the BDRL, you haven't been playing very long, but all you've been playing is Brisbane SM5. It's easy to think, like, well, I've explained this already in depth yesterday in my story, but there's a lot of reasons, arguments you can make in your head why this team shouldn't be doing this well against this level of competition. On one hand, I think you can say some stories about how the competition isn't living up, and on the other hand, you can make stories about how this team is actually just playing out of their minds synergistically. Prawnboy and Rook are having incredible scout stats. The timings by Twin and Screever are perfect every time, like clockwork. Screever is running up, standing in the resupply, nuke goes off, Rook and Prawnboy are resetting people as Screever pushes them out, and Donta remains untouched all game. It's a dominant performance. It's not just they're barely in second, it's no one's taken a game off of them except Brisboom and US East on a penalty. So, gotta highlight these guys. It's like you already know about their success, but you got to appreciate their success more compared to who they've been. Player that we're going to highlight today is Scraps. We're going to highlight Scraps from Laserforce Crew. Laserforce Crew has been trying to switch up some things in the last day of the tournament to push themselves above that 6th place seed. They're coming in today to play Loveland Curveballs to fight over who gets to continue and who gets knocked down into 7th place. We've seen that they've been trying to figure out who exactly the commander is going to be, and it seems like it might be Scraps going forward for the rest of the tournament. I was looking through stats trying to find like who are these diamond in the rough players, who is doing well. We need to take a look here at Scraps. So you'll notice, by the way, that for all these stats, we're going to look at Scraps Commander in particular. Scraps Commander has a 33% win ratio. And it should be obvious, but if your team's winning, you're going to have bigger stats. Even if you aren't any more or less skilled, if your team's winning, that will provide you more chances to score points. So Scraps, doing all these on a 33% win percentage, has the number 5 MVP slot. He's actually really close to Twin, only 0.13 behind him. We can look at his hit differential, and he's down at 0.75, which is number 7, which isn't great. But again, you got to look at the hit diffs. That is higher than Beans. Average missiles, Scraps is number 3 in the tournament on Commander, and he's definitely not there in average medic hits. But just looking at his average total score as well, 4th in the tournament from a 33% win ratio, and that's higher than Twin. That's higher than Morin. That's higher than Beans. And it's higher than Basil, but that's because Basil keeps eliminating everybody. So, wanted to highlight this because Scrap's playing from a 33% win percentage, playing on a lower to bottom seeded team, the 6th place team, is placing pretty highly above a lot of the other commanders in terms of statistical output. LF Crew needed some kind of a boost, some kind of a stick of dynamite in their offense, someone that could go off for a lot of points. Scraps is not the person to break in and get tons of medic hits, but I don't think you need to in this arena. I think the meta has really shifted closer to win on hit diff if you're not one of the top 2 seeded teams, which we will get to in a second. But Scraps being able to put up these numbers, get that hit diff, land those missiles, he's putting up some impressive numbers, and he's been a real standout on the Laserforce crew. Which is going to bring me to my favorite storyline. My favorite storyline is hit differential. Hit differential in this arena has been what makes or breaks almost all the games that we've seen that have not involved 2 teams in particular. So this tournament has 60 eliminations. That's a lot of eliminations. In fact, most games, if we look at the center stats, most games are ending in elimination. That's 26 and 27%, which equals a number, 53%. 53% of all games are won by ELIM in this arena. So you might look at that and think, okay, going after the medic, gunning for an elimination is more than likely the best way to win a game in this arena. But I want you to look at the team standings right here. 43 of the 60 eliminations have been by Brisboom and the BDRL. 72% of ELIMS are by 2 teams. Otherwise, every other team, 3, 4, 4, 4, 2 eliminations. So, if you aren't Brisboom or BDRL, the way that you're going to win games in this arena is actually off of hit differential. If you're not going to, I'd make a case that if you're not going to eliminate the enemy team, wasting effort attacking a medic that otherwise could have been spent increasing your hit differential is a mistake. It would be better to win a game without touching the medic than by trying to force your way in to hit the medic while giving up a lot of points doing so. In fact, you saw that with the only game that the BDRL dropped in this tournament to a team that wasn't Brisbane or Brisboom. All right, we can look right here. And again, this was on a penalty, but it was also really close both games. This win from All-American Supercharged came without a single medic hit. And again, that feels fluky, but if you're not going to eliminate BDRL, why waste the resources trying to do that? This second game was actually pretty close as well, and they only hit Donta 3 times. This is about as close as any team has really come to taking games off of BDRL and winning a match. And so I think it's important to highlight we have 2 dominant teams coming into this into this bracket, right? We're in eliminations now. Brisboom has eliminated almost everything. BDRL has mostly eliminated. We have a bunch of outside teams, now 4 outside teams that are going to be vying for a spot, and they're going to be facing off against these 2 Brisbane teams. If one of these teams is going to win any games against them, I think it's going to be off of hit differential and not off of elimination. I do not think they're going to really have the out-of-town teams don't have much. Statistically, it's far more likely they're going to win on hit diff. I'm going to say it that way. So I want to highlight a few people. Out of all the people that aren't on those top 2 teams, I want to highlight the top hit diffs, and it may give some leeway or explanation as to why these teams are doing so well. So Simply OK has the highest hit diff on Commander with a 0.89. Baru on heavy, highest of the heavies, with 1.03. Sergeant Tucker and Cody, highest hit diffs on Scout, 1.39 and 1.37 respectively. Fireball DK with the 1.45 hit diff, which would sound so impressive if Rusty didn't have an average of a 3.5 hit diff on ammo. And Old Man Than with a 1.02 hit diff. So if you're going to win games in this arena, you need to do it on hit diff, because it's very unlikely that you're going to do it if you're not one of those top two teams. That's my opinion. That's at least what I think the meta is shifting towards, if that, and that's what the top teams are able to pull out. All right, we're going to go with the re-rankings. All right. Now, just to be transparent with you all, definitely been thinking a lot about like what my priorities are in terms of running this channel. Because to be honest, I don't think my friends were incredibly moralized by the fact that I had put the All-American team above International Men of Mystery or Laserforce crew above the Curveballs. I also don't know how much they really care, to be honest, but going off of just a little bit of a comment I got from a person, and if I were in their shoes, I wouldn't like my friend at home doubting me. You know, that feels bad. That the thing about friends, you know, there's this. I mean, there's people that need to tell you what you need to hear, and then there are people that that always believe in you, that always see your best, are always encouraging you. And I think where I've decided I land right here is, if I want to be an analyst for Laserforce, I need to try to overcome my own bias. And at the very least, I guess I should be proud of myself that I was willing to say what I honestly thought, right? My day 3 rankings are what I honestly thought, even if it hurt. But maybe that makes me a risk as a friend, knowing that I might say something. I'm not afraid to tell you if I think that your team isn't as good as you think it is. That being said, I hope it also shows that what I have today to say is what I genuinely believe. I thought about it. I decided to actually sleep on it this time, make sure I was all good on these rankings, and I do feel confident in my rankings here. So here is my, I'm going to start with my re-rankings, and then I'll go to game to watch and closer than expected prediction. So I'm predicting Brisboom not to drop a single game all throughout the entire tournament, including finals here. Which, by the way, I have the bracket right here. Whoop, I'll show you guys those in a moment. That's a little surprise for later. So what we have today, we've got this far in our bracket. Auckland has eliminated Olympus out of the tournament. They are going to the losers round 2. Loveland Curveballs are going to face Laserforce Crew. Loser takes 7th place and advances to play a team from the winners bracket right now. Brisboom is going to play All-American Supercharged. The BDRL are going to play International Men of Mystery, but all 4 of those teams are in the winners bracket right now. They'll have an extra life. If they lose this game, they will come down to the losers bracket with 1 more shot at the title. I think the BDRL are going to win the tournament hands down. Not trying to have a hot take, guys. I'm really trying to avoid the temptation of just throwing up my hands and saying, nope, it's Brisbane. It's Brisbane. No one can beat Brisbane. No one ever has beat Brisbane. I don't believe that's true. I really think that if you had chances to play with them, study them, analyze them, you could learn from them. It's just about like, what team do you have? What structure is it? And I'm not saying that'd be easy at all. I mean, they're the best for a reason. I'm just saying it's possible. But I don't think any team this tournament is going to actually do it. The BDRL, I think, are ultimately going to come 2nd place. I do think they're in for some... I do think they're not going to have as dominant of a time now as they have in round play, but they've really serioused up, and they just understand the arena better than any other team here besides Brisboom. And there aren't many weaknesses. There's just not that many they can exploit. That teams can exploit on them. Beyond that, I have the International Men of Mystery. I think between All American and Men of Mystery, they've been neck and neck throughout the week. All American's gone up and down. Men of Mystery's gone up and down. I think yesterday, putting Men of Mystery, I kind of overreacted a little bit in terms of my belief in All American and my disbelief in Men of Mystery. The truth is, I think what I said on day one is maybe a little more true. I think the skill gap has closed quite a bit. I honestly think the skill on both teams is pretty even at this point, but I do think that Men of Mystery have far more reliable synergy. I expect that they are going to be pretty decisive in that win over All American because I think their team structure has been founded and well rounded and finely tuned throughout the week. And I think especially yesterday, I saw them making some plays that they haven't been able to really pull off in the first few days. So I think synergistically, they are really coming into their final form. Whereas it seems like the All American team, just until the very last game against Auckland, was still figuring out their final form. And that's red flags. That's wee woo danger zone, guys. Like I I I think you could make an argument that All American has more overall talent than International Men of Mystery. But I don't think Space Marines 5 tournaments are won off of talent alone anymore. In fact, I think the amount that talent matters has gone down and down and down for the last 10 years as synergy and strategy and positioning and playing your role, playing a team role has become more and more prevalent. So I really think All American needs to have some major come to Jesus moments if they want to play us higher than fourth, and get all on the same page. I need to see better synergy. I mean, they did show they had it in that Auckland game, right? They lost that first game to Auckland, and then in that second game, you did see like when it was tied at the 5-minute mark, you heard the rally cries. You heard Beans encouraging the team. You heard Scythe making call outs. You saw them synchronizing to make the win happen. They need more of that if they're going to place higher than fourth. And then down in this final bracket, we know Olympus has taken eighth. That's no longer going to be possible for them to place any higher than that. Rest in peace, Olympus. They did amazing. Then it comes down to these final teams. Auckland has been really up and down. The fact that they're able to win games against All-American, but then nearly lose their game against Olympus. I mean, they're hard to figure out who they are. And even they made a lineup change right before finals, trying out Morange on heavy, just trying to see like what they could do. But they kept what they've had. And I think instead they've been shifting the way they play their roles rather than shifting the roles themselves. So coming into day 4, I do think they're going to mean business and try to punch even higher out of this bracket. I don't think they're going to do it, but I do think they're going to be firmly above the Curveballs and Laserforce crew. I just think they're playing at too high and consistent of a level, and I think they've already had their close loss against Olympus. I don't think they're going to be making some of the same smaller mistakes against these other two teams below them. Then the big one is Loveland Curveballs versus Laserforce crew, where the Curveballs haven't actually beat Laserforce crew yet in this tournament. Loveland Curveballs have been even quite flippant with their positions all week. They haven't figured it out. Well, I'm putting them here because I think they have figured it out as of yesterday. I think they're done goofing off, which if they wanted to be heavier favorites coming into this, I think they needed to be playing more consistent all week. But I understand, and I don't blame them for wanting to play different positions, have fun. I think they have their lineup figured out. I think they're going to come in, and they are the Loveland Curveballs. Who knows what they're going to do? Not to mention, to be honest, with all respect to Laserforce crew, I sent a giant block of messaging on how I would approach how I'd approach a game against the Laserforce crew, and I will give no information about what I said. Just that I think if they follow my advice, I think they're going to win. Laserforce crew I mean, I could easily be wrong about this because they've beat the Curveballs all 4 games, but it really comes down to this one game. If they can beat the Curveballs, they will play 6 or higher. And that's a match, right? It could be a 1-on-1 match, and who's going to win the match by more? I don't know. But I think Curveballs are going to peak at the right time. I genuinely believe it's going to happen. Laserforce Crew, an unfortunate 7th. And Olympus down at 8th. So, game to watch today will be the Loveland Curveballs versus the Laserforce Crew. That will, I think, be closer than people are thinking. It's gonna be epic. When you're in the losers bracket, it's all on the line. You get these 2 games, and if you lose, you are out. No more Laserforce Internationals 2025 for you, except for reffing potentially. So that's the one to watch. Big headline there. Closer than expected prediction, I think it's going to be the BDRL versus the International Men of Mystery. I'm actually expecting Men of Mystery to take this first game, to take this first match off of the BDRL. And again, they've never beat BDRL before. But I guess maybe part of this is in my hashtag not humble opinion. I also have knowledge of watching finals year after year after year, and the thing is that people don't always show their cards in round play. Now, is the BDRL showing all their cards? Maybe not. Maybe the BDRL has some surprises in store for us today. Things they've been kind of holding behind their back, and they're going to whip it out. But I think 1, International Men of Mystery might have something up their sleeve, but 2, I think they've just had 4 full days of practice now. I think they are at their most powerful. They're figuring a lot of little, they're covering up some of their chinks in the armor, and they are being given essentially a full night, knowing their strategy, knowing their opponent. Okay, we are facing BDRL. How do we beat BDRL? And I would be not surprised, to be honest, if they come out and just show, nope, we know what we're doing in finals, and we've been here before, all of us, except for El Diablo hasn't been incredibly high up to this point, so this will be a bit of a first time for him being up in this spot, but it's very cool for him, and I believe in El Diablo because he has been kicking a lot of butt. So that's my closer than expected prediction, and then I went ahead and I just gave my predictions for the rest of round play. I think Brisboom beats All-American. I think then if International Men Mystery win the match, they will get one epic match against Brisboom where they will lose in horrendous fashion. The BDRL, I think, would then have to face Auckland A, and they would win that handily. I think All-American will not lose the game to Loveland Curveballs, though I predict one of those games at least. I think just one of those games would be a little close. One might be a stomping. BDRL would then demolish the All-American team. BDRL would then demolish the Men of Mystery in a second match. Running the gauntlet, and then Brisbane has their final internationals. The old generation fighting the new generation. The storyline working in wonderful sequence that essentially all the big American legends got to face the Brisbane team, and the BDRL team defeated them on their own to make it to fight their own A team in finals. And then Brisbane lives happily ever after. That's what I think is going to happen. And that concludes the ZAP report. So, finals time, guys. This is exciting. I can't wait. Thank you for watching. Thanks for giving us something awesome to watch. Good luck in finals today, everybody. Let's go.